Hello everyone, welcome back to YK Reviews. For today's review, this is going to be about the latest horror movie, The Barbarian. So let's get into it. So basically with The Barbarian, it follows a woman who goes into an Airbnb finding out that it's already been booked. So having to figure out what to do and deciding to essentially stay the night, only to find out there are more sinister things at works basically. So this is going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the movie, this is going to be a spoiler warning for you here. I definitely would go out and watch this movie. I've not seen any of the trailers or I went clean slate in it, and I think that's the best way to go into this movie because you'll have such a great time not knowing like what to expect throughout this movie itself. But this is a spoiler warning here. This will be a spoiler review. So let's get into it here. So with the movie itself, it starts off with us following Tess, who basically is a young female who is going into like an Airbnb to find out that it's already been booked by this character named Keith, played by Bill Skarsgård. And I think these two were fantastic in the role and fantastic in the movie itself, with Bill Skarsgård's like character, because he played Pennywise in the It franchise, so you just know that he's got such a great range when it comes to like his acting ability. So like I couldn't wait to see him in this movie. And so, as you know, like they start off right off the bat with the Airbnb scene, like the Airbnb situation itself. So Tess and Keith having to figure out what to do, and Tess I thought was fantastically written. She really did a fantastic job in the movie itself. She portrayed like the fear, she portrayed the bravery, the characteristics that she displayed throughout the movie. I thoroughly enjoyed and thought it was a fantastic, well written character for her. And then with Keith, for his character, I'll be honest, I genuinely thought he was going to be like an antagonist in the movie itself, because if you've seen the movie you obviously know that like he's not a villain at all, and I kind of actually feel bad for what happened to him in the movie itself. Like he seemed like a genuinely good character, a caring character, a good listener, and that's what I enjoyed with him and Tess. You kind of get that genuinely nice relationship between the two of them, and I was not expecting that from his character at all. So going into this movie, seeing him in the movie, I had a feeling that he would just be like portrayed as a bad guy. But what happened to him, it was gut-wrenching to see what happened to him. He just played that creepy vibe very well, because there was one particular scene when she would like come out of the bathroom and he's just sitting there with like a bottle of wine on the table, but you just give that creepy vibe to him. But throughout the movie, as the movie progresses, you kind of see like he is maybe a good character. He's very caring for her. He's a gentleman essentially. So then what I really enjoyed, it was like that suspense and that build up, because with The Barbarian it's kind of like split into certain like parts basically, because like you've got the first act, which probably is one of my favorite acts of the movie, as it straight off the bat starts off with, like as I mentioned, the Airbnb scene. There's no like build up or anything like that. The very opening sequence is Tess arriving at the Airbnb, finding that the key is not there, figuring out what to do, finding out that it's been double booked, and then from there you have like that build up relationship between Keith and Tess, and then from there finding the basement basically. And then there was so much built up tension, and there wasn't like jump scares or anything like that, but you can really feel the horror element in this movie in the first act. Like everybody was like on the edge of their seat. You can feel that suspense building throughout the movie, and I loved what they did with that. I loved what they did when Tess found the basement and then found the door, pulling the rope, using the mirror to look at the lights, to finding the room, and then eventually once Keith comes home, Keith going into like further deep into the basement, like past the room, going down the stairs of like further into the basement. Like you could hear a pin drop in my cinema because of how tense it was. Like, and that's what I really enjoyed about this. The first act in particular was that build up of the horror, of the tension, of the suspense. It came across so well, and I loved that part of the movie itself. I loved what they did with that. And then once Keith died, essentially, once like that thing appeared and like killed Keith, I literally, my jaw dropped. I was like, what the actual F? And I could feel that with everybody else in like the movie theater as well. They were just shocked with like what was revealed, and like suddenly it just cuts away. And I think that's what like might annoy some people, is like just the cut, because you have everything that happens in the first act, Keith getting killed by his head getting smashed like against the wall, and then all of a sudden it just cuts. And then you've got the introduction of the third character, AJ, who's played by Justin Long, and I thoroughly enjoyed his character. He brought about a funny element to the movie itself. Like, I really enjoyed what he did with basically his storyline. I have a little bit of nitpicks with like his character and like what they did towards the end of the movie, but I really enjoyed his douchebaggery type vibe that he had, like from the car driving and like singing to like what was dropped on him, and then going to the Airbnb because you find out that he's the owner of the actual house. So then once he finds like the basement, him using the measuring tape to like measure the rooms in the basement and everything, it really was funny. And Justin Long really did a fantastic job in this role. He was thoroughly charismatic and entertaining and hilarious in this movie, and what he had to go through too it was really funny to see, and he did portray a very great character. My nitpicks I have with him in particular is that like his character arc didn't really progress or grow forward, basically, because like there was one scene in particular, like with Tess and the homeless guy, and the fact that he gave this speech because like what happened to him before like these events, and him saying he needs to look out for people more, he needs to like be a better person, only to then literally within seconds run away and like leave Tess behind, push her off like a rooftop and that kind of stuff. So like he literally just went back on his word within seconds of like danger appearing in front of his eyes. So like his character progression kind of like, it's like a nitpick, but that bugged me a bit. But in terms of overall, I really enjoyed what he brought to the movie, and it was like a great nice change of pace when he got introduced to the movie and to like the storyline itself. But let's talk about the reveal. So we find out that eventually like the reveal and what was in the basement is this woman who has been in there her whole life, basically. I think she was in her 30s or her 40s, and she's just like, she lives in this room where is a video constantly showing of like a woman breastfeeding. And so she's like brings the victims there to try, like first she has him in a cage, then she kind of like, because basically Justin Long's character, when he gets captured, she's trying to feed him milk, but he refuses to drink the milk, so she takes him and like breastfeeds him essentially. And even just talking about it is like so disturbing to like think about, because she's, like I said, she's been living there for maybe 30-40 years though, so she's hasn't grasped like human interaction, human emotion, human characteristics. Like she's dirty and filthy and not wearing any clothes. So like when she first got introduced, like when Keith's character says somebody is down here, and like the way she got introduced creeped the hell out of me and creeped the hell out of my whole like movie theater. Everybody like was in shock when she got revealed, because like I said, I went into this movie blank, I had no idea what to expect, and for that to be revealed, I have to like give a round of applause to like the director and the writers for this movie. They did such a fantastic job here. So then with this reveal and with her character, like she is so ridiculously strong that even one point she ripped like the homeless man's arm off and beat him to death. Like they do everything they can to try and like basically kill her off. Like Tess at one point drives a car into her. But then what I liked about this is that the backstory for her, because there was another part where they like cut right in the middle of the movie, they cut into like a backstory from like the really early years where this guy has been like capturing like women and being intimate with them, and then being intimate with the children, and then children. Like it's a really messed up storyline and that backstory of that. So like you kind of see, like, understand, like, she's not a bad character and that she just wants to have babies. Like, she keeps calling these characters like Tess and AJ her babies and stuff like that, and like she thinks that Tess is her child and wanting to go out of her way to protect her. But it was just a very messed up like scenario, very messed up scene itself. But I love like how she was written and what they did with her, because like I said, she looked so powerful. She got like a car drove into her and into like the house. She was pushed off a rooftop. Well, not pushed off, sorry. She jumped off the rooftop to save Tess, because as I mentioned, AJ like pushes Tess off the rooftop to save himself, and she kind of like jumps off the rooftop to save her, like literally landing flat on the floor, but then survives that. Like, she was really powerful and like not scary but like creepy in a sense, and it's what I enjoyed a lot about this movie and this horror aspect of it, is that creepiness that she was bringing to the table. So with like the movie itself, like what they did throughout the movie, I loved every aspect of it. This was one of my favorite like horror movies. Like, it creeped me the hell out and just kept me on the edge of my seat. Like I mentioned, the first act in particular, with the suspense of like the reveal and like what they were like trying to look for, I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then as the movie progressed, what like was developed and the storyline and the introduction of the characters and all that stuff, yeah, there was a little bit of funny aspects with like AJ's character and everything, but then like having to see them try and escape this I wouldn't say mother because she doesn't have any kids, but I'm just gonna say this poor soul, this them trying to escape her and like what she goes through, what they have to go through. Everything was just such a great build up and such a great suspense. And this really is a horror movie that, like, as I mentioned and I keep saying, to go in blank, because you have such a better time with the movie. You have such a better time with the movie. So I thoroughly enjoyed this movie and definitely would recommend this movie. It is one of those movies that you would have to go see in like a theater with people, or even like once it does come out on streaming, to like stream it, because I loved like what they did with the Black Phone, but I think The Barbarian, this movie, kind of like tops it when it comes to like horror movies. I feel like this is a little bit better than The Black Phone, even though I thoroughly enjoyed what they did with The Black Phone. So this is a movie I definitely recommend. If you love horror movies, you'll love what they do with this one. It's such a great movie. But this is my thoughts and my takes on the movie itself. If you have seen the movie, let me know down in the comment section below what you thought of it, how you found it, like where would you rank this in terms of horror movie of 2022. Let me know down in the comment section below here. But thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, the like button, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. This is YK Review, so peace.